I spend a lot of time thinking about the new year. I haven't written a forward-looking piece personally in 3 years now, and so that's been really weighing on me. I've been really thinking about how I can approach this year in a really effective way now that I'm kind of like, again, coming out of the depths of being on paternity leave with newborn craziness and a bunch of other family stuff with, some adverse health outcomes with members of my family and doing all those sorts of things that were just required. So instead of me spewing all of that unfinished onto you folks, I will be sharing that once it's finished. So make sure you're subscribed on my channels at least to see that if that's something you're interested in, or feel free not to. What I'm more interested in is giving you folks some like tangible things at any level that you happen to be at in your career to potentially get yourself some more in line with your goals outcomes in 2026, some of the better questions that I've had. And so what I've done is I've gone through old notes of mine, some readings that I've been doing, and identified 3 questions for 3 levels of where you might be at in your career. And we'll go through them. Ray, if you have thoughts, I'd really be eager to hear yours on each of these. So I'm starting with individual contributor, then I have manager, and then I have entrepreneur. And I've kind of talked about this journey from cook to chef to entrepreneur. So it kind of maps to some of these things, but not really, because you might be working in a catering company. You might be working prep somewhere. You might not have aspirations to be an entrepreneur at any point in your career. And so what might be useful here is to think about these as going from like beginner to intermediate to advanced. And it's not to say that if you're an entrepreneur, you can't use any of the questions from the individual contributor section. I'm just trying to not be the person who is like, I'm in an entrepreneurial season of my career right now. And so what I don't want to do is like talk all the way, at that level and maybe not provide any value to the individual contributor folks. And so we'll start with individual contributor. One of the questions that really, really made an impact for me as I was, working my way through kitchens coming out of culinary school was, what am I doing the default or previous way, and what upgrades or changes would help me? And so the context that I provide here is Adam Grant did a really interesting piece on what makes somebody stand out in a knowledge worker environment. And it was a really fascinating example that he gave. It was literally downloading Google Chrome as a web browser made you stand out in the workplace environment, because everybody's workplace laptops came out with like Internet Explorer or whatever. And just your ability to look at that and say, there's something better here. There's an opportunity for me to have better, faster, cheaper, stand out. I'm not going to just accept the default. You can maybe think about whatever context you're in, the person who was in the role before you, the way that your boss told you that the station needed to be set up, the way that, XYZ thing is maybe causing you some issues. Maybe it's not anybody's individual fault, but it's something that you notice you're getting like snagged on every single day because that's the way we've always done it, quote unquote. What am I doing the default or previous way? And what upgrades or changes can I make? Like really approach this with a sense of curiosity. And would that help me achieve the things that I'm trying to achieve in 2026? Like, don't think about the mindset stuff. Like, maybe start environmentally and see where that gets you. I don't know if you have thoughts there.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I mean, I totally agree with this. I think I share this one a lot. You talking about Google Chrome. I go to Gmail. I didn't know this for a while. I did like a Gmail course one year, or like a Google course, and I like opened up. You can go into Gmail. You know how you can star an email?
Yeah.
I think most people see that as just a function that's like, oh, you just start the email. You can actually edit that icon. So what I actually have for my Gmail is I have 3 different things. There's like a green check mark, a yellow exclamation point, and a red exclamation point. And a green check mark means I have assessed this email and all action is done. A yellow check mark means I need to get this, but it's not like urgent. And a red check mark marks that email, and it's like, this needs to be done urgently. And so when I go through my email, I can then color-coded understand where I've been, what I've done, and it's super organized based on this simple little color notation.
I love
and
this.
like, it's like stuff like that.
Yes.
Make sure when you set this setting, you go and save the changes at the bottom. It has a terrible UI for saving changes, but it's something like that that I think helps a lot.
It totally makes sense, man, because it is unique to you and it tracks with what both you need and what ideally the business needs. Like, you're not doing this to be, like productivity porn, like just look fancy. You know what I mean? You're genuinely using this to help you in your day to day. And so that's going to make you show up better at work. And that has really, really helped me. Okay. Next one. How can I measure my progress in a way that leads to improvement? And so I think a lot of people, I've talked about this in breakdown videos I've done. We've talked about it in the context of Reddit advice that we've touched on with other line cooks. And people use this very arbitrary language. I think the most popular one for 2026 is lock in. And they'll say these things like, I just need to lock in. Or I've heard it in the past with like, I need to have systems. I need to focus. And it's very arbitrary language that it's very difficult for me to actually define and measure. What do I do? You know what I mean? Like what is the next step? How do I change my behavior in this context to drive the outcome I'm trying to achieve here? And so I don't know if you got this speech, Ray, when you were at CIA, but Tim Ryan used to give this talk about weirdly, like, and this is so funny because I ended up working there, but like he would say, working at the French Laundry, if you're in charge of peeling carrots, you know what I mean? The big thing that Thomas Keller is going to look for you to do is to time yourself on how long it takes you to peel carrots on Tuesday, and then how long is that on Wednesday, and then on Thursday, and whatever. And this can sometimes feel like a little bit demeaning, especially if you're not performing well at work. But I'm thinking about like timers, pedometers, calculating ratios. So like how many oysters can I shuck in an hour is a very interesting thing for you to at least measure yourself on, that from a mindset perspective for me when I was an individual contributor really helped me to actually get past some of these arbitrary words that I was using when it came to my performance. And it actually made it so that I could see the progress, get that dopamine feedback, and then know that I'm actually getting better over time, rather than just, again, saying like, I need to focus better or any of these things that people use. And so find a way to measure it. And then if you can do so, then you can track towards improvement rather than just being willy-nilly about it.
Definitely.
Cool.
Totally agree.
Last one for individual contributors, question you can ask yourself in 2026 is, how do I perceive and respond to feedback? And so one of the questions in the station score evaluation that we do for Total Station Nomination members is talking about feedback. And a really interesting like pattern I see in people's responses, the hundreds of chefs that have taken this, it's almost like a meta question, which is, how do you perceive the idea of getting feedback? This comes through all the time. People saying like, there's certain people who are just like, give me all the feedback. I'm hungry for it. Like, I know that if you give me feedback that's going to genuinely allow me to improve. I define this in the program and give some frameworks around how to improve this. But then I think the more important thing is seeing the people who give the response of, I'm scared of feedback. Like, I actively try to remove myself from situations where I know that I'm going to get feedback that might sting in the moment. Mm-hmm. And that in and of itself is like just very interesting to look at and just be aware of. And it's like, oh, you are actually just like totally averse to the idea of even getting something that is like potentially negative thrown at you about your work or your output or the way that you behave or how you are as a coworker or whatever. And so that's an interesting place to start from. And then the other one is like, how do I respond to feedback? Do I look at it as something that I can genuinely improve on? Do I have some curiosity around it? Or do I look at it as like total ego slam? You don't know what you're talking about. Big middle finger. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I talk about this in the program too. Not every single piece of feedback warrants a change in you. You can have a piece of feedback that comes through that might be like, okay, got it. You know what I mean? Interesting that you think that, but that's going to be something that I move on from and maybe don't make any changes. And so your relationship to feedback, I think, is important. There's actually a book that came out from Atul Gawande, I think recently, called Better. And he basically talks about in that book, the core of that is talking about deliberate feedback and how deliberate practice, and how feedback is such a core part of getting better in whatever context you're trying to improve on. And so those are my 3 for individual contributor. I want to keep going faster because I know we have some time constraints here. Any thoughts there?
I was going to say, yeah, just in the last one of feedback, I struggle with this too. But I think a lot of times, at least for me, even now, even out of restaurants, I receive feedback and my go-to first could be very defensive in giving my time to process feedback before responding and give myself the time to accept the feedback and understand the criticism and not just automatically go on the defensive is really hard, but it's really necessary. And so like when you get feedback, and in the kitchen, it can be very difficult. But like if you get feedback outside of a kitchen, you're not demanded to contend with and talk to that feedback right away. So like being able to process that is big. So I wanted to ask you, Justin, I know we have like 12 minutes. Do you want to go through manager and then end solo on the entrepreneur, or do you want to do it all in 12?
Really quick on the feedback thing, a equation that I present in Total Station Nomination that might be helpful for people is if you have communication plus cruelty, like you're genuinely trying to hurt somebody, that is like not okay. But if you're actually just looking at it and you can analyze the statement somebody just made at you and saying, were they trying to be cruel here? And if the answer is no, then like that's feedback, and feedback definitionally is information with the basis for improvement. And so looking at that as like, okay, now that totally just like breaks it for me. And now I have some opportunities here. Okay, manager. This is a quick one. I've talked about this in content before, but as a manager, how can I work for my team to support them in their tasks? And I think what's so crucial here, I did a whole interview with a chef where we were talking about becoming a manager. And working for your team is not jumping in on the line and plating, the fish dishes for them. It is the example that I gave in the content that I made there is I made a whiteboard for my team to put their orders on at the end of the day so that I didn't have to bop around to every single station and ask what their orders were at the end of the night, because that's caused all sorts of communication snags and everybody was just like never ready for their whatever. And so me working for my team was putting up that whiteboard. How can some of those examples serve you and your ability to manage and actually like enjoy being a manager in 2026? Okay, second question. When encountered with a problem, obstacle, or issue, what is the skill gap that can explain and ultimately prevent this? And so if yours is talking to guests when they're upset, or managing food costs, or being across from somebody in an interview and actually interviewing them with questions that illuminate things that you're trying to screen for in a potential candidate. If you're starting to notice a pattern of there's some problems here, I started this company and called it Repertoire because I believe that skills are kind of like the foundation that all of us operate under. And so I'm almost like a hammer looking for nails in that sense. Being partially critical of myself here, if you didn't catch that. But it's almost like there's a skill underlying some of these problems. And if you call it out for what it is, then you can actually improve it, as opposed to what Ray and I have talked about before being upset with is when we hear chefs say things like, I'm not a numbers guy. As opposed to, being able to look at something and say, this is a communication skill problem, and now I can seek out resources or maybe be more aware of it in these contexts and maybe not have that self-talk that's ultimately going to lead to more of these outcomes that I'm not jazzed about. Okay, third one.
Yeah.
We'll share this as a piece, and this can go fast because it's not my piece, but this is something I landed on in 2025 that I thought was really, really interesting, which is something that somebody talked about in a piece where they're saying it's a helpful hierarchy pyramid that they created. And it starts from 1 and goes all the way up to 5 on when encountered with a problem, how do you respond? It's talking about individual contributors, but I think this really matters for managers because you're sometimes fielding problems and you're sometimes receiving problems from employees. And it gives you a really interesting way to look at how people are responding and get a sense of like, okay, this is like what I want more of. And oh, this is a total textbook example of level 2 in the helpful hierarchy model here. And so at the base of the pyramid is there's a problem. And then you walk away, leaving someone else to deal with it. I've certainly been in, especially kitchen contexts where that's the case. Level 2, there's a problem and I've found some causes. Okay, so it's not just that you're bringing this problem to your attention, but you can diagnose like the deeper reason why this happened. Level 3, here's the problem, here are some possible causes, and here are some possible solutions. For a lot of people in kitchen contexts, that is hitting it out of the park because depending on the context, you as the chef might be the, be all end all person to make the decision when it comes to solutions. But then we go on to number 4. Here's the problem. Here's what I think caused it. Here are some possible solutions. And here's the solution I think we should pick. Interesting. There's agency being integrated here. There's decision making. There's judgment. And then the last one, level 5. I identified a problem. I figured out what caused it. I researched how to fix it, and I fixed it. I just wanted to keep you in the loop. And so there's been a little bit of pushback on this. I'm actually going to put another resource in the show notes that talks about another framework here that talks about like levels of ways that you're communicating and how you're using your language, or you can identify that this is where I'm getting snagged. But somebody in the comments actually put level 6. I identified a problem. I figured out what caused it. I researched how to fix it. I fixed it. I set policies and processes and automations in place so it will not happen again. And so there's all these things that you can get into that just show you the levels of how you behave in your workplace. And if you're getting frustrated around like, I'm not getting a promotion, or you have a goal of I want to get a promotion or go for XYZ position in 2026, this might be really helpful for you to ultimately get to where you want to be going. And so I'll leave both of those pieces. It's like a ladder framework for the way that you're communicating in the environment that you're in, as well as this helpful hierarchy down below. So you can check those out.
Good.
Last one, entrepreneur. So if you're an entrepreneur, these are 3 questions that I think you should maybe consider in 2026. So the first one comes from podcaster Chris Williamson, where he has this very interesting framing of what is the audience screaming at the screen for you to do? And it's a very fascinating, like, we get so in our heads as entrepreneurs, we're constantly trying to plan. Maybe you're beholden to shareholders or investors or business partners, or you have a huge team that you're trying to, like, you get bogged down in all the time. But if somebody was watching your business career up until this point, and you happen to be maybe like torn between 2 options, or you have a decision that you're trying to make, or you've really been like stuck in a rut, what would the audience, the people who have all the context, they have seen the behind the scenes stuff, what would they be screaming at you to do right now? And it's a very interesting question that has, like, that's ultimately what, pivoted me into wanting to write a book. You know what I mean? Like, there's a bunch of stuff here that I do workshops, like go back into making more YouTube content. Like, there's a bunch of stuff here that has been really, really helpful for me when I ask myself that question. Next.
Yep.
Do I need more resources or do I need more resourcefulness? And I think this is a relatively quick one, because as an entrepreneur, we're sometimes thinking about, like, I need to raise more money. I need to have more revenue. Sales cure all is like a very common thing in entrepreneurship, where it's like, or is it a situation, I need to hire more people. I need more gear. I need more inventory. Sometimes that's definitely the way you should make your decisions. But sometimes it's a case of, like, I need to be more resourceful if I had to operate on half of the team size, half of the budget, half of the infrastructure. Is there something there that could actually drive a more positive outcome where, like, if you're more resourceful, you're probably going to be more profitable as well? And so that's just another thing that when I'm stuck, or I find myself thinking that more resources is the solve. Sometimes I actually just need more resourcefulness. Okay. And then the last one, shout out to Sahil Bloom, who did a great breakdown of, year in review. This has been something that I've also been, thinking about a lot going into 2026, which is what created energy for me in the past year versus what drained energy for me in the past year. This might be people you're doing business with. This might be type of tasks that you're doing. This might be the environment that you're spending time in. This might be, people who run agencies talk about, like, fire your most profitable client because you hate getting on Zoom calls with them. You hate working with them. You hate, you know what I mean? Like, you get out of these experiences, whether it's travel, right? Like, any of these things that, again, for a chef, like, sitting there in the spreadsheet world, as we're thinking about AI tools becoming better and better, it's like, if you can identify some of those things, it makes it so that the self-awareness piece is obviously a huge one, because for me personally, I'll talk about, like, self-awareness has shown me that oftentimes the answer is in you. I try to sometimes, like, I need another book, I need another podcast, I need another coaching session. But sometimes, like, if you just ask yourself some of these questions and be a little bit more thoughtful, the answer, you already have the answer. You just need to take the second to pause and reflect and use some of these framings to get to something that is like, okay, there's something here. And then the other reason why energy really matters is because I think a lot of us want longevity in our businesses. And it's really difficult to compete with somebody who's having fun. And so the person who is just, like, full of energy and jazzed to show up every day because they have structured their business in a way that it allows them to show up with that kind of energy, it's going to be really difficult to lose. And so if you can identify those things proactively and build the life in your business, obviously there's things that we all have to do that we're not jazzed about. But I think if you can do that analysis and check in more regularly, I think it will cause some really beneficial outcomes. I feel like I've said outcomes 15,000 times in this episode. But that's what I'm thinking about. Like, I can't remember who said it, but it was talking about, like, process versus outcome. And this person was like, outcome is all that matters. How you got there doesn't really, matter. I don't maybe necessarily think I agree with that 100%, but it is an interesting framing of, like, I think because I'm so, like, I want a clean kitchen. You know what I mean? I want kind language being used in the kitchen. Like, the process really matters to me. But at a certain point, like, depending on the thing, if you can get the outcome done, it's really hard to argue with that. And so,
Yeah.
those are my questions. There's 9 questions for each level of where you might be at in your career. If these led to any sort of breakthrough for you, or if you had some interesting thoughts, please let us know. Other than that, Ray, I know you got to run. Is there anything else we forgot? Otherwise, we'll catch people next week.
No, make sure you follow along, subscribe. I will put the questions. It'll say Justin's 2026 questions in the description. So if you need them, go to the description. You'll see them. And I know. Thanks a lot for sharing.